are all set to begin our today's discussion with our four panelists today. So we have Dr. KNS Acharya, we have Gaurav, we have Jayashree, and we have our founder, Mr. Shivkumar PR from Maven Silicon. Right. So before we get into the discussion, I will quickly introduce everyone the format of the discussion. So the format of the discussion is going to be very simple, ladies and gentlemen. I already have a couple of questions handy with me, and I'm going to be beginning with these questions, and I will be asking our panelists these questions one by one. And that is how we develop a deeper understanding on today's topic. And at the end, we definitely look forward to some amazing, interesting, and insightful solutions to the problem that we have at hand, right? So everyone, are we ready? Are our panelists ready for the first question?
Yes, we are.
Perfect. Amazing. Amazing. So I think my first question is obviously going to be around the topic of the discussion. So we've been saying that, it's very hard to hire the VLSI engineers. So hiring the VLSI engineer is actually a very challenging task. So I would really like to know from Dr. Acharya, Gaurav, Jayashree, and as well as Shiva in this sequence that what are the challenges that you and your organizations are facing at an individual level when actually it comes to hiring the right talented engineers, maybe be it for L&T, Qualcomm, Spica, or for Maven Silicon, right? So we'd like to begin with Dr. Acharya.
Thanks, Viti. Good afternoon, everyone. Gaurav and Shiva and Jayashree. It's a very interesting. Thanks for first of all inviting all of us to be on this panel. I think the country is going through a very exciting period today. In the last 6 months, I have seen the entire talent landscape across the country, across the industries, changing very, very fast. And probably in my last 34 years of career, this is only the second time I have seen that this kind of an extreme shortage of talent is hitting the country. And when I'm talking about the talent, I'm not focusing only on VLSI. I'm talking about the entire spectrum of engineering services industry or IT industry, even in manufacturing industries, so on and so forth. Now, is it what's happening? Now, in my analysis, in some of the forums where I'm sitting, I'm actually seeing that the country is now going through what is called the extreme offshoring. Post the pandemic and the global political scenario that has emerged out, the companies have started, the global organizations have started looking at India as a real talent base, whether it is the small, mid-sized companies or very, very large size companies. The entire outsourcing model and the talent developmental model is becoming very, very challenging for them. Even they are not getting. Therefore, their only hope, I would say, there is only hope is on India. I would say this is a golden period for India. And if we don't, as a country, as a set of professionals, we don't figure out what can happen in the next couple of years, I think it will be a bus of missed opportunities. We missed as a country the manufacturing cycle which China stole from us at that point of time. The services industry segment really rode the entire world from early 90s all the way up to 2000, 2011, etc. Now is a phase where we are looking at the extreme offshoring. At least if I had to talk about L&T technology services as a space, be it medical devices, be it aerospace, be it automotive or VLSI embedded, in each one of them, we are seeing thousands of positions getting opened up every week. That is and the scale at which the companies are approaching us in terms of opportunities is huge. Now, this is the context. Now, what is it that companies need to do? Now, we have also seen that there are a lot of people who are approaching, taking up multiple interviews. The offer acceptance rates, which were almost 80-90% at some point of time, is dropping down to 40-50% because the talent is shopping around. They are really shopping around. This model, while the candidates grow in their stature and compensation, etc., the companies will not be able to afford those kind of salaries. The only way companies can really scale up in the current scenario is creating net new talent in the market. That is an honest responsibility which lies in the organizations, that lies in the hands of education and academia, and also the training and services partners like Maven. Now, there are egos associated with all of us, right? We're all human beings. You have an industry which says, I have the muscle power, I can do everything on my own. University says, I have whatever I produce is the best, you take it or leave it. Then you have the training organizations which say, let people come to me, only then I will train. Now, I think it's a golden opportunity for us that all the three key stakeholders, be it the academia, be it the training partners and industry, have to come together to figure out a model, what is good for each one of us, right? And from us, from L&T Technology Services, if I have to speak, we have created a very strategic business unit within the organization called Global Engineering Academy, which I'm heading now. And we are constantly looking out what we can do internally, maybe about 50%, 60%, and what we can do with our partners like Maven, maybe about 15, 20%. And the academia is the one which is going to be extremely useful for us. We are looking at setting up a joint academy partnership with at least top 50 universities in the country. And there are a lot of work is already being done. And in quick summary, if I have to say, this is a golden period. I think all of us have to come together to make the best for our country. That's my initial comment, Sweetie.
Wow, amazing. So obviously whatever facts you highlighted, of course, were very new to me, and I'm quite surprised also about the opportunities that you spoke about. So I'm sure that everybody of us should be very enthusiastic. But I really have one major takeaway from what you said is that you highlighted the spirit of togetherness, right? Like you spoke about academia, training partners, and organizations like L&T working together. So thank you, Dr. Acharya. It was amazing. So coming to Gaurav, what is your take? What do you have to say about it?
Sure. Thanks for the question, Sriti, and thanks for arranging this, both to you and the Maven team. So yeah, I mean, as Dr. Acharya said, every industry requires a lot of years of experience to mature. And since the IT revolution that happened in India, we were slowly inching towards as a maturing industry for both development as well as the outsourcing or the services part that happens out of India. And few signs of this maturing was you see a lot of startups in India, which was not 5 years back in the across the industry, whether it is the e-commerce, the semiconductors, or any other services segment. The other thing which is a key indicator is the VC funding for the first time surpassed China in India, which again is an achievement for India because it shows the overall skill workforce that India has, and with maturity we are not only implementing, we are actually moving into innovation side of it. Now, as we move forward in that, this COVID brought a different problem altogether. Initially, everyone was not sure what is going to happen. At least our industries have been fortunate enough that we are kind of able to continue our activities even during the COVID phase. And what has happened in the last 8 to 9 months, suddenly there is, as Dr. Acharya pointed out, that extreme outsourcing. We as a company also observe a similar trend that across the IT industry in general and semiconductor in particular, this outsourcing has just constantly been moving ahead, and the numbers are huge. I mean, they are mind-boggling. Now, what it means is we as an industry has matured in terms of implementation or innovation. We are driving towards that, but then suddenly you have another question before you, that can you scale to the level that the outside world expects you to, and that is where the whole gap has emerged. And I mean, to bridge this gap as an opportunity and grab this one, because India is known to be very, very rich in the knowledge skill workforce. We are all studying using a language, English, which is commonly used across the globe. And so we have an edge over any other country. Now, So when this problem came to us at Spikerworks, and we are just a 3-year-old organization, not as mature as probably many of the other companies, we started looking at what are the avenues, and now whether we should go to tier 2, tier 3 cities and try to engage with institutions. Again, yes, I mean, when such a problem is posed, as Dr. Acharya pointed out too, collaboration will be the key moving forward. The more the industry works together, whether it is with the academia, whether it is with finishing schools like Maven, or partnering with the product and services organizations together, then only this problem can be resolved. In fact, we tried to review how are the other markets outside India doing. Southeast Asia, Philippines, Vietnam, Singapore, Malaysia, Bangladesh, Eastern Europe, Japan, everywhere the problem is the same, that for the guys who are already trained, the employment is almost hitting 100%. I mean, most of the cases it is 98%, and the demand continues to increase, which means a clear solution has to emerge to meet this growing demand. And of course, everyone is eyeing India to at least help in scaling the entire IT industry and as well as the semiconductor industry. So yeah, I mean, my humble submission to the start of this panel is that yes, there is a need to come up with a joint solution wherein we can help the fresh grads from the college or institutions come out and seamlessly transition into a productive engineering workforce, which with any of the organizations they catch up and then sail through their careers.
Amazing, amazing. So, thank you so much, Gaurav. The specifically in terms of the statistics and numbers, you beautifully highlighted that there is definitely a skill gap, right, which is existing, and we really have to fill that. That's amazing. So, moving to Jayashree. Jayashree, what is your take on that? I'll also request all my panelists if we can all, I'm so sorry, Jayashree, to interrupt, but I'll just request all our panelists if we can all keep our cameras on during the entire discussion. It'll be really kind of you. Thank you. Yes, Jayashree, over to you.
Thank you, Sweetie. Very interesting question. Both the panelists have covered it so well. They have given a broad picture. So my thought is, don't we have engineers sufficient for our industry? Of course they are. Then what we actually are looking at, I am just representing the industry now, but I was an academician before, so I know both the sides. So what is missing then is, I would like to explain this by splitting it in two categories, right? If you are looking for engineers, what kind of engineers you are looking at? One is the new campus grads and lateral hires. New campus grads are the ones which company goes into the campus and recruits, and lateral hires are either interns getting converted to full-time employees, or it is like you are driving some drives are happening on every weekends, wherein people keep recruiting in this way also. That's one category. The other category is experienced engineers. They keep hopping between the companies, and and also like there are some service providers who are from there. You will be able to get the engineers. Then where is the problem? Engineers are everywhere, right? So people are getting trained. Institute like Maven Silicon is really doing great work in training engineers. Then where is the problem? The people have to understand. One is definitely the skills, right? Technical skills that anyways they are going to get it through either through colleges or through institutes, right? Training institutes. But what I've heard from the recruiters, from the staffing team, from the technical expertise who go for interviews, what they see is they feel that it is not challenging to get the engineers shortlisted for the interviews, and they are able to clear the first level of test. But what is happening is, whenever the theory questions are posed, they are quite able to answer it very well, because they have gone through so many tests, so many exams. They are really very good at theory. But the same concept has been asked relating to a real-time problem. They stumble. They are really finding difficult to answer. So that's one catch. And the second one is, even though you're not able to, if you are good at theory, no, once you get into industry, we are all there to help, right? And also internally, there are a lot of trainings that go on to ramp up them. But do they really have the attitude to solve the problem? Right? So a problem is given, how fast you will give up on solving it. So this is, I mean, I'm just giving only one or two scenarios where people will judge a candidate, right? That's the other thing. And also there will be certain time bound questions like, okay, you've been given certain time, you'll have to complete it. People don't, they'll reset the timer and they'll start working on it. So these situations have happened earlier. So people will look at all this. It's not just people will say, right? So people with less skills can be trained, but people with no attitude, it's very difficult to train. That's where the major challenge is. And also one has to have that imbibed in them to get into the industry. Now coming to the second category, experienced engineers. So usually what happens is they get shortlisted based on the resume. They all know, everybody knows. Nowadays we have all AI engines which can shortlist the resumes based on the keywords. And even the recruiters who are doing it will also go through the keywords and they'll do it, right? And what they put on the resume and what is actual real experience, there's a huge gap, right? So they think that superficially understanding something, doing something is great, and that will get into the industry. But having a depth of what they have worked on, that knowledge is also very important. That's where it is missing. And also, like, depth of knowledge is definitely, the expectation will be very, very above all the newcomer levels, right? And internally, we have a lot of internal trainings that happen. We have LinkedIn Learning. I think most of you are aware of, wherein you have the e-learning platforms like LinkedIn Learning. Orally is a very good publisher. So we have a lot of internal e-learning platforms, which is free for all the employees. So they're free to learn. The only thing is you have to have that attitude to learn. Right. And apart from that, we do have a lot of internal trainings from external vendors as well as internal expertise. I think going forward, I'll share more on this.
That was amazing, Jayashree. In fact, what I really liked is that you structured it so beautifully, and it was so easy for me even, to understand everything. And I think my major takeaways from your answer was, one is, of course, there is a lack of the hands-on experience, and then the attitude. I think that is a very, very interesting point that you pointed out. Great, great. So thank you so much, Jayashree. Over to Shiva.
Thank you all. On behalf of Maven Silicon, once again, I would like to take this opportunity to welcome all the panel members. And as a founder, I'm sitting here to listen to you very carefully. Some of the things that you mentioned, for example, Dr. Acharya mentioned about the opportunities. There are plenty of opportunities. Everyone is looking for the bright talents. So if you consider my situation, or if you look at Maven Silicon as a company, our situation is different. We are responsible for providing the right engineers, right? So I'm not hiring the engineers like the way Gaurav is trying to hire, or maybe Jayashree is trying to hire. Their requirement is different, but my situation, if you look at, I am responsible for providing the right engineers to all these industry folks. Then the big question is, how can we win their confidence, right? Everyone is looking for the best of best. This is something important, you all need to understand, the best of best. Then how are we going to attract the bright engineers from the academia? That's where we are trying to be very creative. Of course, there are ways we can follow the standard process, like conducting online tests. We can think of using even artificial intelligence algorithms also to find the candidate performance. We can even go ahead and do face-to-face interviews also, right? The big question is, we really want to ask the engineers, is VLSI your cup of coffee? That's the question, you know, I would like to ask them. Rather than looking at how they perform with respect to the subjects like digital electronics. Are they truly passionate about chip design? That you can't simply find out just by conducting an online test. Because I have been doing this VLSI training for many years. We have completed more than 10 years, and this is the time we really need to learn from our experience. So rather than going behind the standard flow process like conducting the online test, face-to-face interviews, can we do something different? And as a founder, I also think like, how can we be different from the other players? Not only Maven Silicon, there are other training companies also, they are doing good job, right? But how can we be different from those players? That's where we decided we want to work with these engineers when they are doing engineering course, right? How about introducing VLSI training when these engineers are getting into second year itself? You know, the biggest challenge that we face, all these engineers, they come to Maven Silicon after completing the engineering course, and within 6 months, they try to learn. We pressurize them also because we can't simply keep them on board for years together, right? And everything has to happen within 6 months. I don't think that that's really a right way of training young engineers, right? So if you introduce these concepts, VLSI concepts, maybe when they are into second year or third year, right? Let them learn the basics. For example, what is chip design, how we create a SoC, system on chip, or let's show them the real thing, you know, for example, how we build iPhone. Many engineers actually don't know what is inside iPhone 12. There is a chip called A14, right? And A14 has more than 11 billion transistors. Then how the company Apple has created such complex chip? Many engineers don't know this was the first chip fabricated on the technology 5 nanometer on the planet. So these kind of things will excite the engineers. And the more and more they understand, like, okay, there is a chip inside iPhone, and that is SoC. And maybe they would be curious to understand what is there inside. So I actually show them also. For example, if you go inside, if you dive deep into this chip design, you know, you would be able to find out things like IP, subsystems, and typically what kind of components. So once they understand this big picture, of course, they would be interested to be part of the semiconductor industry, right? So that's very important. So what actually we do, we provide free technical workshops, webinars. We work closely with thousands of colleges. We love to work with tier 2, tier 3 colleges. We don't classify the engineering colleges like tier 1. Yes, we can get only the top talented engineers from tier 1. No, we don't look at that way. We encourage everyone to participate in our initiative. So we provide a lot of free webinars, free technical workshops, and we also provide low-cost foundation courses. For example, currently we are working with universities like VIT, Vellore Institute of Technology. This was amazing, actually. We trained more than 450 engineers, 450 engineers as part of this engagement. You believe it or not, out of 450, 300 engineers completed the course and generated certificate. Then you might be asking me the question, what's a big deal? Only 300 out of 450. I tell you, in reality, it happens like 40 out of 400. Doing online course is very, very difficult, right? So that's what I'm going to discuss more on that particular thing later on, right? So it's going good, and we are with you, with industry folks. We are with the academia, right? And there are a lot of great initiatives. We are there to support the professors who want to create the bright engineers. And yeah, this will work. We should be able to excite the engineers. We should be able to show them the path, how they can get into the semiconductor industry.
Right, brilliant. So basically, Shiva, you've actually picked up the root cause of the problem that sometimes maybe VLSI could not be the right career for me, but maybe I'm just chasing it. So I think it's very important to actually understand whether you are passionate towards it and whether you are really interested into it. It's amazing.